Hey everybody, Editing Heather here. I actually made this video two parts. I wasn't expecting it when I filmed it, but go back and watch part one if you missed it, because it's all about like the highlights of the actual city of Florence. And of course, stay tuned for this one because it's a fun night ahead. Can you believe it? That was lunch. Like, I almost got a little worked up that I was like, I'm just sitting here with my son eating delicious lunch. We'll get there in just a bit. And there's just like horses and carriages going by in this magnificent, fantastic building, and the bells are ringing. It was noon at that time. Like, okay, like we just ate lunch here sitting in our kitchen. What a difference. What a difference. So for prices, I did write this down. I decided to splurge a little bit, and my lunch was €16. Again, it was about $16, because in that area their big thing is truffles, and I thought, you know what? I don't think I've ever had truffles. I don't recall that. Let me try it, and it was good. I wouldn't get it again. Probably not because I wouldn't get it again, but it was fine. And I can say like, oh, I tried truffles. Reese had the carbonara because that was his new favorite dish. Side note, we tried to make it last night. We cannot make it like they can in Italy. It was pretty good. It was a little bit thicker though.
Yeah.
We'll put a picture of it here. That sauce was a little bit thicker. But it was fine. So mine was 16 because of the truffles. His carbonara was 12, which this is higher than Venice. And they kept telling us Venice was so expensive. We found Venice to be the cheapest of all of the Italian cities we went to, but that's fine. And then it was €3 for water. So for, $35, we had a really nice meal next to the Duomo with the bells going off. Like, oh my gosh. So then we walked back to the hotel. I will say, our Gate 1 tour guide, Francesca, had given us maps of every city we went to. Those maps were not helpful. I'm so sorry.
Streets.
I feel bad for Francesca for saying that, but like they were not helpful in any way. I did not. So if you've watched my what to pack and what you don't need for Italy video, we did not purchase an international phone plan. It was $10 a day through Verizon, and I just skipped it. So we only had access to the internet when we were like in our hotel or for a little bit of time on the bus when we would go on a bus ride. So what I had done is I had downloaded the Venice map in Google Maps and then used that in Venice and then deleted that because they kind of take up a lot of space. And then I downloaded the Florence map, and I was getting frustrated. I just gave Reese my phone, and I was like, I'd always pinned our hotel. I was like, this is where we need to go. And we just kind of held the phone and found our way back that way. So the good thing is we had eaten, we'd had some water. The bad thing is we were kind of tired, but it was nice. We went back to the hotel and we just took some downtime. So this is kind of a struggle that I found myself in. I grew up in a family like vacation means go. Like you can sleep in Nebraska. You're on vacation, you're moving, you're up early, you're doing activities, you're seeing all of the things, and then you get home and you crash. And I like that, and so I have that part of me, but I also kept thinking like, okay, we're in this for like over a week, and we need to be healthy enough at the end, maybe not 10 out of 10, but we need to be healthy enough at the end that we can still be enjoying it. So it's kind of prioritizing some of those downtime times also where you can just relax and you can be in air conditioning and you can just focus on drinking water. So it's always kind of like, could we have stayed in that main part of Florence and investigated more? Absolutely. Like we probably had 3 hours at the hotel, but also did that 3 hours then allow us to enjoy, because I think that was just Tuesday, so we saw Wednesday. Yeah, that was Tuesday. We saw Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and our long day on Saturday to come back. So it's always hard to know that balance, but we took some time that afternoon just to chill. And then we got ready for dinner. And I had read this itinerary probably 15 times. Okay, dinner together in the countryside. Okay, great, whatever. So here was some cool things. First of all, I love this about our tour guide. I guess not all Gate 1 tour guides are this way, because we had a father and son on our trip that they've been on lots of Gate 1 tours, and they were like, oh, Francesca's the best. So Francesca was the best. We were all on time, always. We were very punctual, and I loved that. And she was like, if we leave on time, I have a surprise for you. So I'll put a picture of the surprise here. The surprise was that the bus stopped at this overlook. It's very well known. There's lots of people there. We were there around, not sunset, but you know, the sky was getting a little bit darker and Florence was kind of calming down for the day, and it was beautiful and it was magnificent. They had another statue of David up there, which Reese is a big fan of the statue. There's a restaurant up there, so I have a picture of it because I just want to see how much it is. I still haven't looked that up. Maybe this will be my prompt to remember to do that. And so yes, it was beautiful. We stopped for 15 minutes, I think, maybe 10-15 minutes. So not very long, but it was very nice. And then we kept driving and we got to this vineyard. It's kind of a complex of lots of buildings, but we started in the main building, which was the house where Machiavelli went when he was exiled by the Medici family from Florence. So as I understand it, and I do not know Machiavelli well, he was friends with the family. He was super good at war tactics and techniques. Then they got fearful that he was too good at it and might sell secrets, so they exiled him. So he hung out in this house. We have some pictures of it here, of us hanging out in the house. He hung out there for a year and a half. Then they let him come back to Florence, but while he was there, he wrote The Prince, which I have never read and probably won't read, but it was cool to be in the place where he was at. And here is the thing, and I've thought about mentioning this several times, but this was one of those places that, gosh, it looks so old. How did they make it look this old? Oh, no. That's the American in me. It is just old. It's all just old. It's not a Disney recreation of something to look old. Like, it's just old. And it's hard to think about things in those terms. But anyway, they welcomed us with Fanta. So picture of Reese trying his Fanta. So they were very good about all of these places offering non-alcoholic drinks for kids. We had some adults that didn't really drink, and sometimes they weren't offered anything else. I think if they would have asked, they probably would have, but it's fine. So they gave Reese that, and they gave us a blue champagne. It was very good. It was just champagne with some curacao in it. It was really good. So we were upstairs, and then we went downstairs to the old wine cellar, and then we went outside for dinner, and it was an Italian dinner, which meant it took a really long time, and there were many courses. So I tried to remember everything we ate. First of all, there was tons of wine on the table. I think we had 6 bottles of wine on the table, and there were 6 of us at our table. Reese was one of them. And then we had that father and son, and the son had just graduated high school. So I think he tried maybe 1 sip of something. And then we had a couple, and that guy did not drink. So we left a lot of the bottles there untouched. I don't think anybody drank the red, Then they brought out bread, which we've talked about this. It was Tuscan bread. If you want to learn more about that, go back and watch the last video. It was Tuscan bread. But it had tomatoes and olives, so that made it better. And then there was like a bruschetta, and then also some bread with an olive tapenade on it. That was really good. Then they brought out ravioli, and that was good. That had truffles in it, but they had an option. They just assumed Reese wouldn't like truffles. I don't know, probably wouldn't have. Yeah. So they brought that out, and how they did it is they just served that. They just came around and they gave each of us a couple of them. So that was really good. And then they brought out a platter full of meat, like chicken and sausage and beef, and had potatoes on it. And there was also another dish of vegetables that they had brought out. So there's tons of food. We really liked the ravioli. The potatoes were really good.
I really liked, but it was okay.
Neither of us are big meat eaters. Like, that's just not something we would gravitate to. I can't tell you the last time I had meat just sitting here. I'm not a vegetarian. It's just not something that that's not kind of our big source of nutrients. But you know what is a meat eater in Tuscany?
Carnivorous bees.
So they were bees. And I everybody loves bees. I love it. I'm not like a bee person. I'm not super scared of them. To me, they're kind of like mosquitoes. Like, well, no, they're better than mosquitoes because I've only been stung by a bee like twice in my whole life. And does it hurt? Yes, but like, you know, both times the bee was in a situation where it felt like it had to attack kind of thing. So I've never just had a bee flying around that just lands on me and stings me. So Reese was getting kind of anxious about the bees. The woman at the table they were sitting with was also getting a little bit anxious. And there were more than someone would probably feel comfortable with. There were more. So we're eating all of these other courses. And then they bring out the meat course. Sorry, I need to adjust positions. My feet are falling asleep. And we're kind of confused that the bees are still there because at this point, there's not really fruits and there's potatoes, but is that really vegetable? You know, there's like no like sweet things. We're not really drinking wine. They don't seem to be attracted to the wine. And I see, because I'm kind of on the end of the table, bees have landed on the meat platter. And we even said like, bees, what are you doing there? You don't want that meat. No, they did. They did. And I said, that bee has got a chunk of chicken. And this other guy, he didn't believe me. And then they just kept coming. And the wait staff had said like, oh yeah, we have bees. Okay. The wait staff kept coming and just acknowledging them. We eventually moved our meat platter to a different table that no one was sitting at. It was kind of a table off to the side. So we're like, you know what, bees, whatever. And as we were getting ready to go, so a little bit later, that father and son, and the father hadn't believed me, went over and they were like, they are taking chunks of meat. I don't...
Like, if I was a bee, they were taking chunks like this size.
It was, in comparison to the size of a bee, a huge chunk of meat? Is this like a thing? I don't know. It was the craziest thing. And that kind of... sorry, that kind of took away from dinner a bit. Just having the bees... Like I said, Reese was kind of getting anxious about it. So I would say to him, just go take my phone. You don't like the food anyway. Go take my phone and go take pictures. So I'm going to start inserting some pictures here. When we sat down, so these are from either like our table or right around our table, because he wouldn't go too far. He would just kind of leave where the food was. It was beautiful. There's this house, there's this vineyard. And then as the sun went down farther and farther, it just kept getting more beautiful and more, like, people take pictures and they're like, oh, it's even better. I gotta take a picture now. Oh my gosh, it's gotten even better. So this was our view. Between worrying about the bees, this was our view. So we had this happening, and then we also had, there was sometimes just a guy with two guys, one singing and one guitar. Sometimes there'd be a lady with a guy with a guitar, and they would kind of rotate between the different sections. There was different levels of groups eating, and they would come and sing to us as well. So that was, you know, kind of added to it. And then I thought this was a really nice touch. They brought out the cake at the end, and that was going to be our dessert. But first they put a candle in it, and I think the people that were celebrating their anniversary got to get up, and I think they sang a song to them. And then the people who were celebrating their graduation, and then honeymooners, I think. And our tour guide had little gifts for each of them. So that was just really nice. We didn't get anything. Nobody sang to us, but that's fine. And then they served the cake. Again, it was a really stretched out evening, which was fine. We didn't have anything else to do or anywhere else to go. But it did kind of linger. I will say a lot of people in our group were really excited. You could order wine there and they would ship it for free to the United States. And I know for free, like it's always built into the price, but I want to say 6 bottles was $120, which seems like a good deal for this. And they had all of the wines that were on the table. You could order any combination. So I think someone we were sitting with, she got like 3 bottles of one, and then 2 bottles of another, and then 1 bottle of one. So that was really nice. They also offered limoncello and I don't think grappa, but limoncello. And I did try it there. I did not like that. And luckily, the other person that was ordering wine had tried it, because she was going to order like 3 bottles of it, thinking like, oh, this will be good. And then she was like, nope, don't want that. So that was really fun. And then we got in our bus to go back. So this will be the last part of the video. So how it started, like I said, Luigi was our driver. He was kind of strict. We had been told by Francesca, so I don't know if it was Luigi's rule or Francesca's rule, like no soda on the bus. We always had water, always trying to keep the bus clean, that type of thing. Cool. We're super on board with that. We were always told to wear masks on the bus, and that was never a problem. Everybody always did. Sometimes I'd see somebody get on without one and maybe sit down and they'd be like, oh my gosh, that type of thing. So it was fine. So we get on the bus and our whole group is getting on the bus, and some people are getting on with wine bottles.
Full bottles of wine.
So this harkens back to a conversation we'd had at our table, because again, there was only 3 of us at our table who drank, and we weren't big drinkers. So between the 3 of us, in total maybe drank 1 bottle of wine, like a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. Okay. And we had said, like, what do they do with all these bottles of wine? Like, they just have these open bottles of wine. Like, they can't, I wonder what they do with them. Oh, they give them out. They give them out to the rest of the party. I don't know if they gave all of them out, but our group, not the 6 of us that were on the table, but of the 29 that were in our Gate 1 Escorted tour, there were 23 other people, and they were getting on with bottles of wine that were open.
And they weren't, like, close to empty either.
No, they sure weren't. So they're getting on, and a lot of them had a really good time. Great. Kudos to you. Nobody's driving anywhere, like, whatever. You do you. So we get on. Reese and I have our mask on. A lot of them don't, because they are drinking the wine. So that's fine, whatever. And I'm not going to play the music because I don't want copyright stuff, but I think the first song that came on was That's Amore. When the moon hit, that song. Okay. And we all kind of know the chorus little part. We don't know the rest of the words, but that's fine. Like, we're singing along, the sun's going down, people are drinking. That's fine. That's a fun time. I was like, oh, we're like kicking back in the bus. And then it got darker outside, and we because the Vineyard was kind of up high, we're getting down back into the valley of Florence, so it's getting darker. And then Volare comes on, which is now our new favorite song. And again, we only really know Volare. That's the only part we know. Okay, great. Dean Martin, he's banging it out. And the lights come on in the bus. Not like the overhead lights. Like crazy party bus lights. There's like flowers spinning around and dots, and the video isn't great quality because it's really dark and that kind of thing. You can just hear me, and I'm not going to play it because you don't need to hear me laughing. I'm just laughing hysterically. Not because of the wine, because again, dinner was like 4 hours long and I'd had like half of a glass, but I just couldn't believe it. They were just in this bus outside of Florence, going down real curvy roads, and people are just drinking wine, passing wine bottles around. Everybody's just drinking the wine. I did not drink, so that's not where I got COVID. But they're just passing the wine bottles around. People are singing. After that, we ended up playing, apparently Luigi, our bus driver, was the DJ. The Macarena, which is not an Italian song. The YMCA, La Bamba. Haven't heard that song in a while. Mamma Mia, about, that movie in Greece. A song from Greece. So, not the country, the movie. Yeah. And we got to a roundabout, and Luigi went around it about 10 times, and we're a big bus, and we're going kind of fast, and he's just like going around this roundabout, and we figured it out pretty early, like, oh, we're going around. The drunk people, it took me a little bit, but then they're like, woohoo! And I am just laughing hysterically because it's just, what is happening? I have my 10-year-old on this party bus where there's just wine bottles aplenty and singing and dancing and lights are going off, and it was the most fun, craziest bus ride I've ever been on. And I was a bus kid, so I've had some crazy bus rides, but that was super fun. Anyway, we got back to the hotel not too late that night, and got ready for the next day, because the next day we were headed to Rome. If you would like to watch that video, go ahead and click subscribe. Please let me know down below if you have any questions or comments. They could be for Reese or they could be for me. If they're for Reese, just put a note that this one is for Reese, and I'll be sure to run that one by him before I type out the response. Otherwise, I will just see you next time. Bye.
There's a